welcome back. I haven't posted here in a while on YouTube, but if you're new, this is going to be a consistent thing now. I'm trying to get a podcast out fresh off of the games on Monday throughout the week. So, stay tuned. This is the first of many. I had 2 previous videos, but trying to make them a little longer. This is just kind of an intro vid, catching up on some things that I've learned for the first 3 weeks, and Monday through Friday will be the longer videos. So with the first 3 weeks already kicked off and one game played in week 4, I can kind of get a sense of things, and I've learned a few things as well. So the first thing is, the more things change, the more they stay the same. And there's a lot of examples for that, like a workplace, or like you're at a party or a social setting. Like, let's take a party, for example. You're at a party, one guy's funneling, 2 people making out. One guy only drinks Bud Lights. He doesn't drink anything else. I don't know why you would have Bud Lights at a party to begin with, but it's besides the point. If that guy only drinks Bud Lights at the party, the more and more you go to a party with those same people, same group of people, their tendencies might change for 1 or 2, but the more and more parties you go to, eventually they'll get back to drinking Bud Lights, hooking up, and funneling. Same thing with like a workplace. You get a coworker who's going to drop stuff on your desk, want you to finish it. Sometimes they might finish it, on their own, but eventually, if you do their work, they'll come back to you. They'll keep coming back to you, and it's the same thing. Mahomes and the Chiefs are good after people like me thought they weren't going to be good. And you have Jimmy G playing for the Niners once again. Somehow, I just knew that would happen. Jameis is throwing picks. He's back to his original form. He's back to his 30 for 30 form. And the AFC South still sucks. The more things change, the more they tend to stay the same. That's one thing that I honestly can say, that it happens every year in the NFL. We always think something else is going to happen, and it just doesn't. It always stays the same. For the most part. Obviously, a lot of things change, but for the most part, it does. Players on different teams, coaches on different teams, players aging, doesn't matter. You're going to see more of the same things every other year. And, it's an advancing world dominated by creatures of habit. It's kind of how I look at it. Another thing, you can never predict quarterbacks. Honestly, that's one thing I've kind of given up on. I've been seeing lately how the NFL is really changing into a pass-heavy league, and I didn't want to think that at first. I kind of just thought, well, just because you're seeing different things doesn't necessarily mean that it's always going to be that thing, or it's going to change into that thing for most quarterbacks or for most offensive coordinators or coaches. But it kind of is. I can't lie. And the more and more that happens, the more uncertainty you're going to get with certain QBs. Like, I've kind of given up on it. Like, the guy everyone thought wasn't going to be ready is taking the league by storm, Jalen Hurts. One day, Tua is thrown for 6 touchdowns, and, the next, he's hurt. You just can't predict it. And I can guarantee you nobody thought that would happen. Tua thrown for 6 touchdowns. I don't think anybody would have predicted that in his whole career. I'm going to be honest. Like, I don't think anybody would have thought that coming in his whole career. The Broncos were finally going to be saved by Russell Wilson, and they were gonna be the best in the AFC West. Nah, it's not happening. I mean, they have a QB. They finally got a QB, but QB isn't doing much. He's not doing anything, and it's not just like people say, oh, it's the system. He's got to get changed. He's got to get used to the system. But I watched Sunday Night Football. I watched the whole game from the first play to the last. Wilson's scared. He looks scared for the first time in his career. I can say that. Every play when he was at Seattle was like, when you were the opposing team, you were at the edge of your seat because it's Russell Wilson. You fear him. You know that any given play he can make something crazy happen, the impossible. Thursday night against the Cardinals, does double spin, back move, triple 360 flip, and just lobs it to Doug Baldwin. And somehow he comes down with it, and he goes for like 30. No other quarterback does that. That's like Russell Wilson type shit. Russell hasn't been that. He's scared. He's playing for the first time in his career. He's off target with his receivers. It's like he lost connection with receivers. I mean, he's never played with those guys, but for the first time, he doesn't have a connection with his receivers, and he's playing antsy. He's playing safe. He's not taking shots. He's like trying to be too calculated, and it's kind of messing him up. He's just throwing bad balls sometimes, straight up bad. But like I said, you can't predict quarterbacks. I was kind of getting off track, but that you get the idea. Like certain guys, like Tua and Jalen, that a lot of guys didn't really think that would be playing that good. Same thing with Lamar. It's the hardest position to play, arguably in all sports, and it's constantly adapting. There's no wonder it's the uncertainty for that position, uncertainty for the performance of that position is at an all-time high. I could understand it. Some headlines. I wanted to get into something that I've been talking about for a long time, and I really believe in it. Lamar looks like 2019 Lamar. Good zip. Arm looks even stronger. Like, I don't get how people could have doubted him, honestly, because when a player proves someone wrong, but they still kind of have that narrative when they were founded on the narrative of a question mark. What are they going to be? No matter what they do, they're always going to be followed with more and more questions. Well, can he do it again? Or more excuses like, he only did that because of X. He only had that coach. It's only because he had the receivers or whatever, especially for quarterbacks. And it kind of sucks, and it's not fair, but that's kind of how the NFL is. But Lamar looks great. I mean, the ball looks great coming out of his hands. He looks as fast as he was. He had some injuries, but that shit doesn't seem to be affecting him at all. Those kinds of things aren't luck. That kind of talent doesn't disappear, and yet people still question him. I don't get it. Just think about how many players were able to do the kinds of things that he's doing. Not a lot. Like, you're talking about maybe 5 who have done it and have done it with as much efficiency as he's done it when it comes to passing and running and being dynamic in those aspects and just crushing defenses. Like, game planning for him is as hard as game planning for Mahomes. There's just no question. For Tom Brady, for Aaron Rodgers, he's up there because he has that potential. And obviously with the accolades and playoff wins, it's not there yet, but he's got one of the highest win percentage, I think, for a quarterback. It's like before entering this season, it was 41 wins. So right now it's 44 wins before he turned 25. Those are the kind of players that you can't. It's just something that you can't coach when you have that kind of talent. You see it with Josh Allen, and Josh Allen's a little bit different kind of athlete, and so is like Kyler Murray. He's a little more twitchy. Josh Allen's a little more big, but Lamar just knows how to use his speed, I think, better than any NFL quarterback. I think Kyler's up there too. Allen kind of plays a little too aggressive for my liking because it's like the same thing with Cam Newton. Like, you're only going to get so many opportunities to, be healthy, and he plays like a linebacker. But, that's take the good with the bad. It's not necessarily bad, but something that, it can result in an injury, but it's still great nonetheless. But yeah, Lamar, he's doing his thing. I'm proud. It's my guy. And we're learning that Trevor Lawrence, talking about quarterbacks, we're learning that Trevor Lawrence is the guy. He's really the guy. He's the generational talent that we all thought he was. I didn't really have any doubts, but I just didn't know when Jacksonville was going to get a goddamn coach. I didn't know when they were going to finally get players that, really help them and not just throw money at a bunch of defensive guys and then be good for 1 year and stick with Blake Bortles. That's not the formula, man. No, definitely not. Especially how the NFL's changing, like I mentioned. You need someone like Trevor. Trevor is, just to describe it easily, it's like Andrew Luck. The prospect that you kind of view as the perfect prospect. Andrew Luck was pretty close, and he's looking like that, and then some. The Jaguars are top 5 in scoring offense. They have the best turnover differential. They're +7. They've only given the ball away once out of 3 games. Like, they have a tough opponent. Arguably the best team in football now in the Eagles they're playing. But, like I said, I'm recording this on a Saturday. So if you're seeing this after, I don't know what happened, but just assuming that they're going to play good, as of right now, it's looking amazing for Jacksonville, really. I think that they can compete in the AFC South. I'm not even kidding. Like, Trevor Lawrence looks like the best quarterback in that division. And Matt Ryan ain't looking the same. Davis Mills is okay, but the Texans are just, they're not competing for nothing. And Tennessee don't look like Tennessee. Mike Vrabel's guys just don't look like they used to. They have a lot of injuries. They gave away A.J. Brown. They don't have, what's his name? Taylor Lewan is out for the year. It sucks. Busting with the boys. Shout out busting with the boys. But yeah, that's tough for Tennessee. Yeah, I think the Jags have it. They just showed out against the Chargers, and I know they were hurt, but it was impressive. Jags are in a good spot for the next 10 plus years. They got a good future, I feel like. Doug Peterson's a good coach. Philly, they got Sirianni. He looks to be good, but Doug Peterson, he's a good coach. He was the right fit, I think. He won a Super Bowl. He took Philly to a Super Bowl, and that was their only Super Bowl. Good for him. He's doing great things, and yeah, I mean, the Urban Meyer thing was atrocious, and honestly, like, I hope something like that never has to happen. The college thing really doesn't work in the NFL. That's something else that I learned. A lot of college coaches don't really work out, and I'm gonna get into that next, actually, right now. Coaches on the hot seat: Frank Reich, Cliff Kingsbury, Matt Rule. Those are three guys that I don't necessarily hate them. Frank Reich especially. I like Frank Reich. I think he's a good coach, but here's the thing. If they don't get it together this season, I think they're gone. People mentioned some names that, like, I don't agree with, like McCarthy. McCarthy's been to a Super Bowl. Like, he took Dallas to the playoffs. He gave that offense arguably their best year since Dak's been there. Arguably Dak's best year. Like, he's not a bad coach. Like, he's a good coach. He took him to the playoffs, and, his QB slid before he can give him a chance to win. But, I mean, that's a step in the right direction. I mean, Dak is hurt, but he looks to be coming back real soon. Season ain't over. They might have the best backup in the NFL. And Jerry Jones, he don't fire guys. Jerry Jones has patience. That's the one thing that you gotta understand. He's stuck with Jason Garrett. And Jason Garrett's not bad either. But, I mean, he had all the reasons to get rid of him. Inconsistency. He's going to stick with Mike. I mean, I think he's going to do it. But as far as Frank Reich goes, for one, hired in 18, been to the playoffs twice, 0-2 record. Could do worse. But the one constant that I always see, and I see it with another team that I'm going to mention, they can't find a quarterback. And he seems to be playing it safe and too safe because he trusts his system. And it has worked. And when you have someone like Jonathan Taylor, it makes a lot of things easier in the passing game. But 4 quarterbacks started in the last 4 or 5 years that he was there. Luck, Brissett, Wentz, and Ryan. And, I am questioning his decision-making when it comes to that. Because I feel like at the same time you can agree, like, okay, you're moving on. That is kind of a bold move. But at the same time, after 1 year, it's like, well, if you're going to move on, then just get a young guy. Get a rookie. Draft someone. Don't keep getting, like, veterans. It just doesn't make sense. Like, getting Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's really good. Like, don't get me wrong, but everyone's asking that question. Are we going to stick with Ryan, or are we just going to get someone else in free agency or trade for someone? I think he plays scared in the offseason. I think they're a well-managed team. I think the GM is really good. They make great moves in the offseason. I think they draft fairly decent. Like, they're not a bad team, but they're always kind of just good. And they start slow and gain momentum late on. Last year, they fell apart when they just had to beat Jacksonville. Oh, and Phillip Rivers, too. Phillip Rivers, that's another guy that I forgot. He started for them, like, it's every year. Just that's crazy. For like 5 different quarterbacks. Like, Andrew Luck retired on him. I'll give him that. But I think he's a good coach. I'll give him a little leeway, but he doesn't make a splash. That's the one thing that I've noticed. Kingsbury, there's a few things that I like about Kingsbury. I think he knows what he wants for his team. I think he trusts Kyler. which is something big that you have to trust your quarterback. And I think Arizona drafts well. I think another thing with them, I think they make good moves. But the problem is with that, they're not resulting in wins. They are, but again, they kind of just fall apart at the end. For the past 2 years, I had it right here. The past 2 seasons, their record after October, so this is after like week 8, something like week 7, they're 6-13. They can't keep it together. I think that you can make the argument that he shouldn't be there anymore. I think they'll stick with Kyler, and I think because of the relationship that they have, I don't think that he's going to go, but I think that it's something that should be considered as a fan, that it could happen. And personally, I wouldn't mind it. It's the college thing. Like, I don't think a lot of college guys really work. And that's another guy too, Matt Rule. It's just a failed experiment. Just cut the ties. 2 years was enough. I don't think it's going to work. I mean, it's kind of the same story. It's the same trend. Can't find a quarterback. You settle for Darnold. You bring back Cam Newton for the culture, I guess. And now you have and Teddy Bridgewater in 2020. And now you have Baker Mayfield. And I like Baker, but there's a lot of things that I have questions about. And first 3 weeks, it doesn't look great. You're settling. You're not making a move. And you have decent players, but it's not good enough in a league like this. And there's just certain coaches that mid-season, they know they have a good team, but they see one flaw. They make a move. Niners in 2019, they got Emmanuel Sanders. They needed a wide receiver 1. The Rams, they get Jalen Ramsey in 2019. They get, just this past year, they get Odell Beckham. It's that kind of move that changes things. And there's certain coaches that I don't think they're cut out for it because of that. And guys like Frank Reich and Matt Rule, like, those are the kinds of things that hold them back. And Matt Rule is just really not that good. I don't think he's fit for the NFL. To just keep it light. I wanted to go over teams that I think will be fine and teams that I think I would panic on. Teams that I think will be fine: Buccaneers, 49ers, Bengals. The Buccaneers, they got a little bit of a slump. They had a few of their receivers hurt. Evans missed the game. Their defense is outstanding. I think it's probably the best in the league, but I think they'll be fine. They'll be good, nothing to worry about, even though their offense is underperforming. But one thing I will mention, I think Brady misses Gronk. Like 2020 and 2021, like, he kind of got into a groove with Gronk. 2020, it took a little while, but 2021, he was firing at Gronk, and he loved him. Gronk is his guy. I think he misses him because they don't have a tight end. The tight end for the Buccaneers, the starting tight end's like Cameron Brate, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I think Brady misses Gronk. Just something to add. Niners, it was tough, but guys, you got to remember, Garoppolo wasn't with the team until 2 weeks before the regular season started. I mean, and he hasn't really had time to throw or practice with these guys. Like, he wasn't even allowed to be with the team. They thought he was gone. Like, he had a rough Sunday night, but the defense is a championship defense, really. I mean, the secondary last year was what was kind of holding them back, but they're strong. Mosley's playing great. Charvarius Ward's playing great. Hufunga's arguably the best safety in the league, and they don't even have Jimmy Ward yet. He's hurt. He's coming back maybe after the Rams game. Same thing with Jason Verrett. He's coming back. They don't have their full arsenal, and they're playing great. I think the offense will pick it up. Garoppolo's he's gonna be fine. The Bengals, they just got a big win on Thursday night. They look to be back. Burrow looks great. Dude, you got Chase, Burrow, Higgins, Mixon, Boyd. That's a good team. Like, the offensive line played better. Actually did. Played a lot better on Thursday night. Defense looks really good. Like, they have a culture there. They have a culture. D coordinator Lou Amaruna. I don't know how to say his name. I'm butchering his name. I'm sorry. But they're good. They'll be fine. They got the running game. They stuck with the running game that night. I like that. They got back to Bengals football. They'll be good. They're 500 now after going 0-2. Rough start, but they bounced back. Now, teams that I would panic on. Okay. Patriots, Raiders, and Chargers. The Mac Jones injury sucks, but even before that, they weren't looking great. They just got mediocre players. You know, they're well coached. Belichick is always going to have his guys ready to play. But you throw big money at guys like Aguilar and Devontae Parker and Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. And dude, Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith got like 4 catches combined this season. And you signed them for a lot of money last year, 2 years ago. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's something that you could really take a look at, and I don't think it's a great situation for them because they have a good QB. I do like Mac a lot. Mac isn't gun shy. It's one thing that a lot of players think that Mac is just like, think and dunk kind of guy. No, it's not it at all, actually. It's the opposite. But you throw money at average players, and it's just kind of, in the AFC especially, that's not going to cut it. Another team, the Chargers. Dude, I think the Chargers are just cursed. Like, I don't know how else to, justify it. They're just cursed. Joey Bosa groin. Jalen Guyton out for the year. J.C. Jackson keeps getting hurt. Justin Herbert is hurt. Keenan Allen's hurt. Austin Eckler doesn't look the same. Rashawn Slater's out for the year. I think they just have bad luck. I don't know what to think about Staley. Some of his decision-making last year was really weird. I don't know what to make of it, but I think they just have bad luck. Yeah, it's tough. I'd start to panic on them. They got an injury problem. The Raiders. I didn't like the McDaniels hire to begin with. I don't like it now. It's proving my opinion right. They were the worst team. They were a worse team 3 years ago, and they had a better record. They were a worse team in 2020, 2019, 2021, and they were in a better position now at this point in the season than they are this year. They're 0-3, the only team in the league to be 0-3 right now. And you have Adams, Renfro, Darren Waller. Matt Collins looks good, and Josh Jacobs. They don't give him the ball. Dude, Josh Jacobs is one of your best players, and he's averaging 5 yards a carry. Give him the ball. Why are you not giving him the ball more? He had 18 touches last week, but as far as rushing, he had 10 carries for 52 yards week 1, if I'm not mistaken. Keep giving him the ball. I don't understand, blowing a 20-point lead against Arizona. You can't do that. It's just not good. It's bad football. I'd start to panic on the Raiders. It's tough, but yeah, that's it. There's going to be more coming Monday. This is just a quick episode. Wanted to get stuff out of the way, but yeah, let me know what you think. Share it. If you see this on TikTok and Reels, share it. Yeah, thanks for watching.